All right, all of my Van Halen friends and viewers here, I've got something special for you today to look at. I'm not going to call this an unboxing because, in all truth, when this neck arrived, I couldn't help myself. I opened it right away because I was super excited. So I'm going to basically call this a reveal of a Musikraft neck that I ordered, and we're going to walk over the specs of it and let you take a close look. This is going to be for an upcoming project that I will eventually prepare another video about. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a peek inside the box, and I'll show you how this arrived. A nicely packaged neck in there. It's cradled in these nice cardboard supports. It's got a very nice thick, probably about an 8 mm plastic sleeve, in addition to, looks like a cotton, kind of a cotton sleeve in there to protect the neck itself. So let me pause this and I'll get this out of the box. Alright, it's out of the box, and I'm going to try to manage this with one hand. I'm going to slowly pull this little cotton sock off here and let you see this thing in all of its glory. It's absolutely magnificent. So what you're looking at here is the Musikraft Franky neck. And first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Scott. When I was emailing their customer service email line, he was very gracious to answer all of my questions, was very helpful, gave me some tips for my ordering process, and basically just was an absolute great person to work with. He was very patient with me as well through the whole process. So massive shout out to Scott there at Musikraft. And I mean, the result of this neck is just absolutely beautiful. So we'll start walking through the specs here, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it and why I chose the specs that I did. All right, so this is the $195 Franky neck. When you add the 3A Birdseye, that adds an additional cost of $100. So we're at $295. This is a two-piece constructed neck, so it has the separate fretboard slab, and which means you don't have the skunk stripe. All right, so we've got 22 frets, and we've got obviously the 25.5-inch fender scale length. Now this is where I started to choose some options that were personal to me. I went with a 1 3/4 nut width, but I chose an R3 Floyd nut, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. We know Eddie liked the 1 3/4 inch nut width. It's wider than your typical like 1 11/16 nut width, and he would pick an R2 nut to bring the E strings inboard just a little bit to give himself some real estate between the edges of the fretboard. And I can tell you that, you know, over the years, when you run into a guitar that has a high E string that likes to just, you know, fall off the side as you're trying to play some leads up high especially, it's very frustrating. So I've never had a neck built this way, so I was very curious about that. So you'll see a little bit of a shelf still exposed underneath that R3 nut, and that is by design. So it is wider than your normal like Charvel. What I'm used to is like a 1 11/16, but it should bring in the strings just a little bit off of the edges. I did choose the option to have them install the R3 nut. That option was $49, and the reason, you know, I went with that, if you were to buy a new R3 nut or any size nut from the Floyd Rose site or any of your, you know, music retailers, it's going to run you about 37 bucks these days. So, you know, for 10 or 12 bucks to have them install it, I just thought, you know, hey, if anything's going to go wrong with it, I don't want to be the one messing with it. So I just let them do that. There it is. It's a rear mounted. So I thought that was a pretty decent value there. If you don't want to mess with it, just pay them. All right, so we've got the 3A Birdseye. I went with a 12-inch radius fretboard. If you choose a compound radius, that's going to run you extra. 12 inch is fine. for me. I also went with the semi-rolled edges. Show you what those look like there. Get a little close up there. So they're just lightly rolled. You could do a heavy roll for an additional fee if you wanted to. I also did the 10 millimeter modern tuning keyholes. Went with the 1/4 inch rosewood dots and the modern spacing at the 12th. Those are rosewood dots, by the way. Went with the center spaced side markers. What that means is it's centered on the fretboard slab. I went with the 6100 jumbo nickel frets. I'll let you take a look at the fret work there. Looks very clean. I would say it's probably ready to play out of the box. I don't feel any fret tangs or any overhang or any of that fret sprout, none of that. It feels really nice and smooth. I might give them a quick polish. That's going to be about it. For the fretboard end, you may have noticed I went with a squared end, and that was by design. I really prefer the squared fretboard ends of a Charvel neck. So in emailing Scott, he said, hey, just put a comment when you're placing the order. There's a comment field, just request the squared off Charvel ends of the overhang there. Otherwise you get that rounded fender overhang. I went with the Franky D-spec neck profile. So the back is their Franky D. It's the 80 to 87 thickness. So a little bit fatter than a Charvel Pro Mod, but not by much. I chose the option to have the fender spec heel screw holes drilled, so I don't have to mess with that. I'm going to be mounting this back into my K&E Azusa Franky body, which you'll see here later coming up. But that's it. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview and a closer look of what a brand new Franky neck looks like. And in case you're wondering, what is the difference between the Franky headstock and a Strat headstock or a Charvel headstock? Let me show you that real close. All right, so here is a Charvel, one of the early 2010 and 11 made in Japan models, and I thought I'd give you a look at how these headstocks compare, so you can see what actually makes a Franky neck a Franky neck. And when you're looking at them side by side, let me go at a different angle here. Okay, that's better. When you're looking at it from this angle, there's not much difference. The rounded end, they're pretty much the same, but when you get down to this area underneath where the logo would go, it's more straight across on the Charvel and more rounded, a little more fatter through here on the Franky. And so to illustrate that, let me kind of line this up. I'll set this directly on top. I've got the tuner holes aligned, if you're looking at it from my vantage point here, and you can kind of see the shape difference between this line and this line. The Franky neck kind of comes out rounded that direction. I'm exaggerating, of course, with my finger, but you can see how that's more of a straight cut, and this has that more has a large radius on that there. Sticks out quite a bit. I think the radius along here, they're pretty much the same. Not much difference, maybe slightly, I think, because this tip comes out further. But the headstock ends, the ball end is pretty much the same, but you can definitely see that difference. So I just want to illustrate that as well. All right, so here is the neck fully installed on the guitar. I'm not going to reveal the guitar itself because that is going to be shown on a future video for my Frankenstrap makeover. But what I wanted to capture here was this 1 3/4 nut width with the R3 clamp, and what that did for the positioning of the outer strings in relation to the edge of the fretboard. And you can see there is a massive amount of space now on both the high E and the low E strings. So if that is something that matters to you and you're curious about that 1 3/4 nut width, that's how much more space you get. It is substantial. Playing wise, it definitely feels different. It still feels great. I'll probably do a demo in a future video of that, but just wanted to give you a quick visual on the string placement and how much real estate is kind of off to the side there. Seems like there's a little more spacing. Of course, like I mentioned, I had Musikraft install the R3 clamp there. Seems like there's a little bit more spacing on the high E side than there is the low E side, and that's totally fine. Adjustment wise, yes, when you're playing it, there definitely is a little bit of a learning curve, because with muscle memory, your hands are used to chord placements and things over the years, and so when you have that much difference in the neck width, then your fingers want to kind of go to where they're most used to playing. And I've noticed in chords that reach across the entire neck, like a G chord, for example, your hand placement, you have to kind of almost retrain yourself. So that is one thing I will be getting used to. But there it is, the Musikraft Franky neck. I'm going to pause this and let you see I'll flip this around, let you see the back side. Nice look here at the back, and I've got the Charvel tuners installed as well, and I think it turned out great. Alright, so there you have it, the Franky neck from Musikraft, completely installed, strung up. It feels great. So stay tuned for future updates on the Frankenstrap makeover project, where I'll do a full reveal in an upcoming project. Thanks for watching.